Hello everyone, it's Ricky Baez from Baezco Learning and co-host of the HR Talk podcast. I wanted to do another quick hit video because I saw a story in social media the other day that after I read it, it just kind of made me shake my head at the dumb things business owners and managers do still out there. And you would think in this day and age, in 2020, that people would be a little bit smarter about how they handle issues at work. But stories like this prove to be the opposite. And the way the story goes, and I'll go ahead and post a link on it in the comments, the way the story goes is there was this one employee who's been working for a tow truck company for about 16 years. This employee confided in his manager, who's also the owner of the tow truck company, that 3 years prior, the employee was subjected to racial discrimination and harassment. Now, you would think that as a business owner or a business leader, when you get information like that, from an HR perspective or a moral high ground perspective, you would think that the organization or the leader would take a step back and just start investigating this issue immediately. That's not what he did. What the business owner decided to do, I guess he was concerned about the alleged complaint, and instead of looking into it, he partnered with his fishing buddy, who also happens to be the former chief of police of the town this business is in, and they started this text message back and forth on a plot to get this employee arrested before he was able to file a complaint. So yes, it's the manager conspired with the former chief of police, who is also his fishing buddy, to get this employee arrested before he filed a formal complaint. Long story short, the employee sued. The information got to court, and the employer lost, and the plaintiff, which is the employee, was awarded over $1 million in damages. Kudos to the court system, kudos to the employee for doing something about it. But folks, this can all be avoided if that manager would have done the right thing from the get-go. And what is that right thing? Well, first and foremost is if somebody files a complaint, investigate it. It doesn't matter if it was a week ago, a year ago, 20 years ago. If this is the first time you hear about it, you better be doing your due diligence to conduct a full and thorough, impartial investigation. Now, of course, you are going to have some questions, as would I. Why after 20 years, 3 years, 4 years, are you bringing this to our attention now? Regardless of what they say, if there's a legitimate complaint, you better investigate it immediately. Above and beyond that, in the course of that investigation, you might want to find out how come that employee didn't feel compelled to come out earlier and say something about this earlier. So maybe the processes are not in place the way you think they are to give the employees those different avenues of approach to file a complaint. So along with that first tip, which is investigate immediately, you might want to put something in there to figure out why those processes weren't in place, why this employee didn't feel comfortable in bringing this up. You have to look into that. And I don't mean because if 5 years already passed, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can now take your time. You know, I mean you have to investigate ASAP. As soon as it comes on your lap and your radar, you have to look into it. So that's the first tip, investigate vigorously. The second tip is when you do investigate, do something about it. If you find out that you had some people, some managers that work under you that are doing some pretty bad things to your employees, regardless of whether they're your boys or not, it really doesn't matter. You have to take appropriate action. The one thing worse than not doing anything at all about an issue at the workplace is conducting an investigation, giving the employee the false hope that, wow, this manager is really looking out for the best interest of the employee, and nothing happens as a result. So you have to be able to take action. If your employee, your company was at fault, fess up to it. Contrary to popular belief, human resources, they're not there to side with the company. Human resources is not there to side with the employee. Human resources is there to side with fairness. Fairness could be on the side of the employee. Fairness could be the side of the manager. It really doesn't matter. You have to side with fairness. And if you, as an HR leader or a business leader, you side on fairness, at the end of the day, it is going to come out beneficial for the organization. Now, I know a lot of people, especially attorneys, are out there saying, no, you're supposed to side with the company's best interest. You're 100% right. And it could be in the company's best interest if you have an employee who's sexually harassing or being discriminatory to other employees. The best thing you can do for the business is remove that individual from the organization. That is the best thing for the business at the end of the day. So, number one, investigate vigorously. Number two, do something about it. And number three, it doesn't really have anything to do with this one, but it still has a place in this scenario, is if you decide to do something about it and you want to go ahead and write somebody up or document it, you need to check your emotions. And this one is hard to do. You have to be able to check your emotions and make sure whenever you put things in writing, whether it's a verbal, a write-up, a final write-up, a performance improvement plan, you got to make sure that you get all the emotions out of your system before you start putting that on paper and start focusing on the key performance indicators. You want to start focusing on those numbers and moving that needle from A to B. And here's why I'm saying that. I have seen a lot of clients who do have top-level managers who at some point they were peers with the people they're now overseeing and leading and managing. So they have an emotional investment into that relationship. So obviously when that employee doesn't do what he or she is supposed to be doing, that manager who really has a lot of passion for the business may feel like they got stabbed in the back, may feel like they got a hit to the ego. Regardless, you've got to be able to get the emotions out of the way, because if you put your emotions in writing and then you get taken to court for wrongful termination, whatever the case may be, they're going to point at you as an emotional leader. And when they read those documentation that are full with emotion, you're going to prove them right. So what I suggest people to do, leaders to do, and my clients to do, is in case you have to write somebody up and it hits you here, take a step back. Don't put anything in writing. Wait 24 hours until your emotions get out the way and you're able to control them, and then you apply rationale to whatever document you're writing. That's what we do here at Biasco Learning. That's what we always do over in the HR Talk podcast, because at the end of the day, we can't forget about the H in HR, and that's the human aspect. Hopefully that works. That helps you. Thank you very much, and see you next time. Have a good day, guys.